Today after causing a crash in a stolen car that killed 3 women on Queensland's Fraser Coast. Joining us live now is Queensland crime expert Dr Terry Goldsworthy. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining us. We've got Lauren Forbes reporting on this for us this morning. She spoke about the maximum penalty for his crimes could be 7 years. However, under new laws, we could have seen this teenager face 20 years in prison. That's certainly a significant difference, would you say?
Yeah, that's right. So last week we saw introduced in Parliament the Making Queensland Safer Laws by the LNP. They've currently got a committee process underway. Submissions had to be in yesterday. I made a submission to that committee and the report will come out tomorrow. So these are extraordinarily rushed laws, I must be honest. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out. But under those proposed amendments, someone who's charged with a number of offences that they've nominated under the criminal code will now, if you're a youth offender, be subject to adult penalties, or you could have those imposed. So murder, you'll get life. If you're a youth offender, you'll no longer get those lesser sentences, and things like dangerous driving, stealing motor vehicles, etc., you'll be liable to what an adult offender would get. The problem is, though, I've done some data analysis that I included in my submission, and what it shows is that for youth offenders, for most of the offences, excepting murder and manslaughter, you're talking about maybe somewhere between 5 to 15% of youth offenders get sentenced to detention. So it really will not change overly much for anything but murder and perhaps manslaughter. You'll definitely see a change in murder outcomes. For the other offences, I'm not sure it'll make any difference whatsoever in terms of that aspect of the bill.
All right, and what else was in the amendments?
There's a whole variety of things that put forward. A full criminal history of a youth offender will now be made available to the courts. It'll be made available when they're sentenced as an adult, which I think is a good. Doesn't disappear just because you become an adult. If you've had 5 cautions and you appear before a court as a youth, the court should take those into consideration because obviously they haven't been effective. So that'll be in there. The courts will now be opened in terms of youth courts, where family and media will have access. Under the past government, there was an option for judges to opt out if they thought it was prejudicial to the offender. The rights of the victim are now paramount, as they should be, and we've seen a removal, or will be removal, of detention as a last resort principle. So I think a lot of the things contained within the bill are quite good for victims of crime who for too long have been unheard.
And the reaction, how's it been?
Look, there was a bit of criticism in terms of the timeframes, which I alluded to before, and I can understand that. I mean, we have seen before the LNP fall into this trap of rushing laws through. They did that when we had the bikie brawl in 2014. They rushed the VLAD laws, the anti-bikie laws, through in 2 weeks. Now, those laws were a dismal failure. These laws, I'm hoping, will be more grounded. They have been criticised by human rights groups, etc. So there has been some resistance to these laws, but I think they're going to go through, and then we'll see how effective they are in dealing with the crime crisis that we have in Queensland.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds to go, but anything else you want to add? I know we've spoken a lot about repeat offenders and an increase there and so forth, but in terms of youth crime, and not specifically talking about what we're hearing today with this particular teenager, but are there any stats on young teenagers and repeat offending?
Yeah, look, they're kind of captured by our serious repeat offenders, and we do know that they've dipped under 400 for the first time in many years. So it does seem we're getting some traction in dealing with those hardcore offenders who commit about 50% of youth crime. So that's a positive sign.
Dr Terry Goldsworthy, thank you as always.
Thanks, Jamie.